What's going on, guys? Gibbs is here, and we are talking about playoff scenarios for the RLCS North America style. This took a really long time to do, and if you want to watch this to figure out most of the ways, like I haven't listed every single one, then feel free to look at your favorite teams throughout the list. There's a couple notes, though. One, it's not every single scenario because there is a couple extras lying in there. And then number two, here are the rules. For tiebreakers, if there's a two-way tiebreak, it goes to head-to-head win, so it depends who beat who during the regular season. Very simple to understand, and that one goes through, so I don't list those as tiebreakers because we already know who would advance based on that. Now, where it gets weird is where you get three-way tiebreakers. Three-way tiebreak is individual games win-loss ratio throughout the entire season. So you're playing 7 best-of-5s. If you win 3 games to 1, you would have 3 wins and 1 loss. If you get another 3-0, you'd be at 6 wins, 1 loss, and so on and so forth. So for those, we do not know who has won those tiebreakers yet because it comes down to the final weekend to determine a lot of those tiebreakers. There are a few teams that have some 3-way tiebreaks where I'll either know if they've won already or they've lost already. One instance is Genesis. If they get in a 3-way tiebreak at 5 wins with Exodus and Energy, they would be in the top 2 no matter what. Another one is if Take 3 gets into a tiebreak at 3 wins, a 3-way tiebreak, they would automatically lose that tiebreak to every single team. So that's pretty much it I got for you guys. One other note is I will be on the desk the entire day tomorrow, or on the weekend, I should say. I will let you know after every single game what the playoff scenarios are, who is eliminated, who has clinched in certain spots, who can no longer clinch a certain spot. I will do that every single segment, hopefully, so you guys can just follow along if you want on the desk at the RLCS. So yes, so do that or watch this video, whichever you prefer. Let's continue. First off, we have Exodus. This is what they need to do to clinch a top 2. They need 2 wins, and they automatically clinch top 2. Pretty simple. Or if G2 beats Genesis and Revival and Vindicator lose 1 game, they have clinched a spot there. Another way is if Exodus or Revival... if Exodus beats Revival, but Energy gets 2 wins, they will clinch a top 2 spot. Because that'll make a tiebreak between Exodus and Genesis. Like, say Genesis wins their game in a head-to-head and Exodus owns that head-to-head. Next up, a 3-way tie win. Now, they can also lose this if Exodus, Energy, plus Genesis all get 1 win. Now, Exodus and Energy are actually going to play each other this week. So, one of those teams is at least guaranteed 1 win. And then it comes down to the other games. So, the tiebreak would be win-loss of individual games, as we explained earlier. And they can win that, but they can also lose it to get out of the top 2. The only team that is guaranteed in that 3-way tie is Genesis. Genesis is guaranteed to at least make top 2 out of those 3 spots. It would be between Exodus and Energy to determine the other spot based on the results of those games in that day. So they can lose it by doing that as well. Or if they get 2 losses and Genesis beats G2, then Genesis would take over the spot. And of course, Energy would also win a game because they're playing each other. Or if they had 2 losses and Revival or Vindicator wins 2 games, then they would need 3-way tie help again to get that spot. Fun. Let's continue. Now, I'm not saying these are perfectly accurate, guys, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty close. Let me know if you noticed any mistakes or if there's any additional ones that you thought of. And yeah, I'll take note of them for the desk on Sunday. On Sunday, it's going to be a lot easier, or I should say Saturday for North America. It'll be a lot easier because after every single game, the possibilities get reduced exponentially, basically. So it'll be a lot easier to follow throughout then. All right, Energy, very similar to Exodus. They're both sitting around the same record. They're both at 4-1. They need 2 wins, and they're in, or G2 over Genesis and Revival and Vindicator to lose 1, or Energy over Deception, plus Exodus gets 2 wins. So again, this is that tiebreak with Genesis. If Genesis would win 1, but Energy beats Deception, then you would want Exodus to actually beat them out and get the number 1 seed, so it's not a 3-way tiebreak anymore. It would be a head-to-head tiebreak, and Energy owns that. The other one is the 3-way tie win. If all 3 of those teams win 1 game, once again, they could also lose that, as I said earlier, from Exodus. Or they would be eliminated from top 2 if they get 2 losses and Genesis beats G2. Now, Genesis versus G2 is the first game of the day, so we will know a lot after that first one. And then we have 2 losses or plus Revival or Vindicator has 2 wins, and then they would need some 3-way tie help once again, because it could come down to a 4-way tie for second between Genesis, then Exodus, or Energy, whoever loses that game, and Vindicator or Revival. Actually, that would still only be 3. I apologize. That would still be 3, because it's or for both of those. Never mind. This is why it's confusing. Let's continue. Genesis is in the tough spot. They've clinched the spot for top 6. They have not clinched a spot for top 2, and they are on the outside looking in. They need to beat G2 and then hope for 2 losses from either Exodus or Energy. So at least they're playing each other, so one of those teams is guaranteed 1 loss, and they got to hope that team loses their other game. Or they will win a 3-way tie if they all win 1 game. So that's also another note. If one of them loses the one early and then the other team beats that team, either way they're in. Because, actually, no, because then the other team would still have to lose to get the 3-way tie. This is why it gets confusing. But they cannot lose that tiebreak. The 3-way tie, they will automatically get in. Now, they miss top 2. If G2 beats them, most likely. I think there might be a 3-way tie scenario where they can still get in. I could be wrong with that, but this is why we'll make notes of it afterwards. Exodus gets 2 wins, plus Energy gets 1 win, or the opposite happens and Energy gets 2 wins and Exodus gets 1 win, because again, they lose the head-to-head tiebreak to both of those teams. Continuing on, Take 3, the easiest team out of all of them. They basically have one scenario where they don't make the top 6. Every other one, they make it. So first we'll go over to how they clinch. If they win their game, they clinch T3 over Vindicator. If G2 and Deception both lose 1 game, now they are playing each other, so they will get at least 1 loss. The other team would have to lose. Or Revival loses 2 games, they would get in. Now, the only way they do not make it in is if Vindicator beats them, and then G2 or Deception win 2 games. Very possible, because they do play each other, so one of them will have 1 win. And Revival gets at least 1 win. They will be eliminated at that point. They play in the very last game of the day. It might come down to that game to decide if either G2 or Deception get in. Very, very possible. But we'll see if that happens. That would be really exciting. But Take 3, thank you for being easy. But they lose out on every single 3-way tiebreak, guys. So that's why they need help if they get the loss, because they just can't beat anyone in the 3-way tiebreak. Even G2 or Deception, who are at the bottom of the standings right now, because Take 3, most of their losses were sweeps. So they had a really bad win-loss ratio. Continuing on, Revival. They need to clinch 2 wins. They're in. Or if they beat Vindicator, they are in. If Deception loses 2, plus G2 loses 1, they are in. They don't even have to win a game at that point. They are just in. 3-way tie win if Deception plus G2 lose 1. And that means if they don't get any wins, they would all be tied at 2 wins. They can lose that tiebreak. It depends on the win-losses in the series that they have that day. But Revival can also clinch top 2. Surprisingly, they need 2 wins, like a Genesis loss, and Exodus and Energy. Oh, I'm sorry, one or the other to get 2 losses. Whoever loses that match in their head-to-head, the other one would also have to lose. Then they would all be tied at 4 and 3, and then they would need some 3-way tiebreaker help. So it all depends on their win-losses throughout the day. Now, they miss top 6 as well. There's lots of ways that they can miss top 6. So these guys are all over the board. If they get 2 losses plus a 3-way tie loss if Deception or G2 lose 1, they can win that. Now, these are all for 2 losses on Revival side, I believe. So it's 2 losses if Deception or G2 win 2, or 2 losses and G2 lose 2 and Deception win 1. Now, that 3-way tie we were talking about earlier, where if Deception and G2 lose one, actually, they might be able to make it with just one win, now that I think about it. I'm not even sure. Whatever. This is what I got here. I probably forgot some tiebreakers if they win only one game, but that's fine. It's no big deal. I'm going to cry. Anyway, we'll continue. Vindicator GG. If they win over Take 3, they are in. If Deception loses one game and G2 loses 2 games, they are in. They don't even have to do anything. If a Revival loses 2 games, they are in. If they beat Revival, which is one of those losses that Revival would have, plus G2 and Deception both lose 1, then they would need 3-way help. I'm sorry. Yes, plus G2 and Deception lose 1, they are in. But if one of them wins 2 games, they would need 3-way help. If 2 wins from either of those teams. I don't even know anymore, guys. This is really confusing, but this is close enough. Clinch is top 2. They still have a chance at top 2 for Vindicator. 2 wins, plus a Genesis loss, plus Exodus or Energy to get 2 losses, plus tie break help. So they would again be in that 3-way tie scenario at 4-3. They play Take 3 and Revival as the last 2 games of the day. Those games are going to mean so much for all these teams fighting for playoff spots, because Vindicator kind of like is the gatekeeper, and they can change a lot of playoff scenarios. So it should be a lot of fun to watch them, especially because they looked extremely strong last week, probably looking like one of the best teams in the league right now. Now, they missed top 6 if they lose twice, plus G2 wins 1, plus Deception loses 2, or 2 losses, plus they lose a 3-way tiebreak if G2 and Deception both win 1. They can win that tiebreak. Next up, Deception. They clinch top 6. Now, they need a lot of help, obviously. Them and G2 both need a lot of help. They can't just win their games and get in. Every other team can win their games and just get into the playoffs, not these two. So, they clinch top 6 if they get 2 wins plus Vindicator beats Take 3. Again, these are the 3-way tiebreak scenarios where Take 3 loses every single one of them. 2 wins plus Vindicator or Revival gets 2 losses, because right now they're only sitting at 2 wins. So that's very possible because they do play each other, and then they would have one other game. So 2 wins again if Exodus beats Revival, because that would put it into a situation where Revival has 1 loss, Vindicator versus Revival. If Revival wins, then Vindicator would either have 1 loss or 2 losses, but they would beat Take 3 if they get the 1 win. So either way, they would be in if Exodus just beats Revival. Doesn't matter about any of the other games after that. So that's a big one, and it is pretty common for that to, like, you would think that would happen, but we've seen crazier things before. Then 2 wins plus 3-way tie help if Vindicator and Revival both win a game. And it would be the opposite. Like, Revival would have to beat Exodus, Vindicator would have to beat Revival, and then lose to Take 3. They would need 3-way tie help. Or 1 win plus Revival and G2 both lose both their games. They would also get in that way. There's probably a couple others. I think there might have been a 3-way tie if G2 does get 1 win as well. I believe they would also be in based on the tiebreaker. I believe they beat G2 no matter what on tiebreak. I could be wrong there. Something like that, but there's a lot of ways for them to get in. They are not done yet. And then they miss top 6. If they get 2 losses, they are out. If they get 1 loss and G2 wins twice, they are out. If they get 1 loss and Vindicator and Revival both get a win, they are out. And if they get 2 wins, they can still lose based on the 3-way tie that we talked about earlier. If Vindicator over Revival, Revival over Exodus. If that happens, they can still be out at 2 wins. That would be really disappointing for them. Next up, the fan favorites, G2, trying to climb the mountain to get back into the playoffs. They need 2 wins plus Vindicator or Revival to get 2 losses. Or again, the one that everyone's going to be talking about, 2 wins or Vindicator over Take 3. If they beat them, they are in. 2 wins plus Exodus over Revival. The same exact scenario as we just talked about. They will be in. Or 2 wins plus 3-way tie help if Vindicator plus Revival win 1. Very similar scenario. Or 1 win and Deception and Vindicator get 2 losses. G2 would not make it in the 3-way tie if Deception does get 1 win as well. They would not make it into the playoffs because I believe Deception, no matter what, beats them at that tiebreaker. So they would be out, but that one I did not list. Now, they missed top 6. 2 losses, they are out. 1 loss plus Deception wins both games. They are out. 1 loss, Vindicator and Revival both get a win. They're out. Or 2 wins plus a 3-way tie loss. So if they get 2 wins plus a 3-way tie loss where Vindicator over Revival, Revival over Exodus, they can still be out. But there's a good chance if they get 2 wins, they're in as well. So most of these teams at least somewhat control their fate. Plus, that 3-way tie, they could still win that. Like, if they get 2 3-0s, it's very likely that they're in. Same with Deception. And I'm tired, guys. That took a really long time to do. I probably missed a couple. Let me know in the comments. And once again, I will be on the RLCS desk all day, and we will be talking about playoff scenarios the entire day. And I will be keeping track of them the entire time. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next time for EU playoff scenarios, which I believe is like 20,000 times worse, and I haven't done them yet. So shoot me now. Good night.